Again, the piston doesn't want to come out. Hello everybody and welcome to day 43 of MacGregor S-Type rebuild series. The replacement stator bushing still hasn't been delivered, so I've decided to put the transmission parts aside for today and instead attempt the valve body / mechatronic unit. I will do a full rebuild on this also, therefore the valve body has to be disassembled, which I should achieve today. Then I will go for a replacement separator plate because this is one-time use only, and also the zip kit offered by Sonex for these units. In between everything will be cleaned properly, and one of my next videos will then cover the reassembly using all the spare parts, including the replacement solenoids I already have on hand. In a first step I will try to remove the black plastic part, which is the control unit. Since I didn't go for anti-static equipment, I have to take care not to touch any of the contacts to get this down. I also will have to remove some of the bolts that hold the two halves of the valve body together, because they stick through, and also attach the control unit in place. I see at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's attempt these. Bolt size again is 27 Torx. Those heads are prone for stripping, so as soon as I run into any problems with my hand tool, I will change to an impact driver. But this will not be necessary. Torque is very low here. And actually the bolts sticking through and holding the control unit in place are longer than the other ones. Let's play it safe and take this 4 here also out. Although this wasn't a hit. But this was. No. The 6 bolts I've noticed at the beginning are removed. And now let's try to pry this apart somehow. And try to be careful not to break the plastic. Okay. It's always the best to use the hands as far as possible. Tools often only cause damage, especially to the plastic parts. Yes, and this looks good. Here's an alignment pin. That's in place quite tight. And here a second one. Voila! Now I'm gonna detach the 7 solenoids by unscrewing this retainer plate. Bolt size is again 27 Torx. sequence is yellow, blue, blue, black, yellow. Solenoids of the same color are identical and interchangeable. Up front, a quick reminder, on 30th of August I'm going online with my first ever live stream, so if you want to see me struggling with the replacement engine, unedited and in real time, save the date and join me on 30th of August, 5 AM UTC. Now it's time to untighten the remaining bolts. As you can see, this half of the valve body comes with a lot of pistons here in the sides and also there, especially with the one that does the shifting, but there are no small parts here inside that could be lost. While you have a lot of those, here inside the other half. I will now take this out while keeping track of their exact position. Here's a screen. Looks the same on both sides. One spring-loaded something. And another one. Actually, these two items are identical, so I can't mess them up later. Here's a so-called check ball. The second one. Number 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and here I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dampeners. Maybe those have to be pushed out from the other side. Yes, and actually there is a hole. Number 1. Number 2. number 3. The number 4 drops out by itself. Maybe they all would. Let's try it this way. Yes, number 5 and number 6 also comes out itself. I have now double checked, and those are all the parts I could get out of the Valve Brothers maze. 6 dampeners, 8 jack balls, 2 sombrero heads with springs, and 1 tiny filter. Yeah, my separator plate has code 036, and that's what I have to go for to receive the correct replacement part. It's now up to removing the pistons or valves from the first half of the valve body. The main valve can be pulled out easily. Of course, it has to go in a certain direction. The small end belongs to the inside, and the big end to the outside. All the other valves are spring loaded and held in place by 1 retainer. My plan is to push the valves towards the inside, which will take out the tension while extracting the retainer using such a tool. Yes, it worked out for the first one. And actually the valve drops out. Yeah, and there seems to be nothing more inside here. Number 2. A little bit more tension here. Slides out as well. And this actually is the same, exactly the same valve. Yeah, and of course there's also a spring inside. Let's give it one more try. Yes, here it is. Piston number 3. Now this hole is empty. Also no retainer here. The retainer here looks different. It's very short. As well as the piston. But only because it's not alone. Up to number 4. A small retainer also here. This time the small piston comes out alone, just with a spring. Up to number 5. Small retainer again here. Again the same small piston with a spring. Let's see what's in hole number 6. Again a small retainer. The same small piston and the same spring. Up to the last one. This piston is sticking out already. I can grab it or hold it back with my finger. But to get this retainer out, that's recessed and made out of some kind of wire, I need some kind of a mini hook. I made this myself. If you are interested how, then stay tuned. I will reveal this at the end of today's video. That's the retainer, followed by one piston, another black piston, the closed end facing towards the outside, the open end towards the inside, and of course a spring that fits inside here. That's interesting. One more piston in hole number 7. Maybe also in hole number 6. Yes, and actually there is one. Just didn't come out by itself. And there's even one more piston. Let's try to work this one out somehow. And here it is. Yeah, and actually nothing more inside here. Let's change to the other side. It starts with a wire style retainer at this position. But the piston, for whatever reason, doesn't want to come out. I don't want to cause any damage here, but what shall I do instead? And here it goes. This hole really seems too small, or the piston too big, I don't know. Of course the piston doesn't come out alone. There's a big spring and another piston behind, and this is sliding out easily. Up to the next one. Sliding out easily this time. Followed by a longer spring, and a real long piston. Here I have a quite big retainer. That's not the wire style and also not the spring style from the beginning. This retainer has to be pushed out from underneath, or here from the outside. And here it goes. But again, this piston doesn't want to come out. Yes. And here it goes. One large piston, followed by an even bigger. And the spring that obviously still is inside somewhere. here it is. So I'm done on this side, up to here. Again, one piston, followed by another. And the spring still inside somewhere. Number 2. Only one piston here. But another piston behind the spring. That's kind of new. Here it is. Very little spring pressure at this position. Again, the piston doesn't want to come out. Again, the piston seems to be too big or the holder too small, I don't know. And here it is. Followed by a second piston and the spring still inside. Up to the last one here. Again, the piston doesn't want to come out. There have been 2 little machining marks on both sides. I've grinded this away and maybe it comes out now. I've done now a little grinding directly on the piston through this hole here, and I hope this helped. And here it is. A little destroyed, but it's out. Followed by a very little piston. Another piston that I think will come new with the Sonex zip kit. One more piston actually, and finally a spring. And that's it. All the pistons are removed from this half of the valve body. Up to the second one, there are 3 valves on this side. And again this one, I thought it won't come out, but finally it did. One big piston behind, and finally the spring, number 2. A lot of spring pressure applied here, so the spring will be a big one, yes. Followed by one more piston, and maybe even one more spring. No, Actually, there is one more spring. This is inserted from the other side. Number 3. Again, the piston doesn't want to come out by itself. But with a little help it does. Very tiny spring. And one more piston or valve is left inside. Here it is. 2 more valves inside here. I was able to press it out a little bit from behind. And here it is. 1 piston followed by a valve. And a spring, I think. Yes, a red one, that's creative. Now the second one. Also not much spring load here, and always if there's not enough spring load, the piston doesn't want to come out. Help it again from the rear side. Here it is. Followed by the valve and the funnel spring somewhere. Yes. So here is the result of today's work. And finally, as promised, the creation story of this special tool that turned out to be quite useful today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up or even subscribe. You also may want to join the upcoming live stream for a view ahead. Click here. See you back on my channel next time. Goodbye.